Alright, when you're ready.
Alright, so we all have gone through challenges, some of us more than others. I personally have gone through quite a few, but I don't know about you. My parents are divorced, and within a span of about 4 years I gained 7 siblings. So that was quite the life change. I was about 13 when that all started going down. But one sibling in particular, my youngest brother, has changed my life a lot. For the better, of course, but it did come with different difficulties at times. But anyways, my name is Myranda V, and today I will be sharing with you about how his story has impacted my life and my family's. Alright, so this is my brother, Deacon James. He was my inspiration when writing this paper. He's about 2 years old in these pictures. Well, he's just under 2 years old in this picture. Today was his 2nd birthday, and he wasn't supposed to live past 6 months, so it's kind of a big deal for us. But within about 4 months of him being born, we found out he had an airway defect called laryngomalacia, and he had to go through 3 surgeries pretty much right away then. And then we found out that he was deaf in 1 ear too. So in the first picture you can see he has like a little headband on, and that's holding his hearing aid up. But we have to go see a lot of specialists for him. Like this week we're going down to Rochester and staying down there for a few days, and then next week we're going to Milwaukee as well. So he has a feeding tube that got put in around 8 months because he aspirates his food, so he inhales it into his lungs and he'll develop pneumonia. And then he's on oxygen as well, which isn't super necessary, but it helps him with his energy levels, so we prefer to have it with him. So he has a duplication in his DNA called the 22q11, and it's relatively unknown. It is a spectrum disorder, so a lot of people actually do have it, but it only presents in about 2% of the people who do. And then about like 0.5% of those people that do present it actually show severe symptoms. Most of the time it's just something small when they're little. But he has appointments almost daily, and like I said, we see many specialists. We have to go down to the U for most of them. He's had countless procedures, which are just small. He doesn't really have to go under anesthetic for those ones. So, and then he's had over 10 surgeries, which he does go under the anesthesia for those. He is pretty delayed. He doesn't talk as much as a normal 2-year-old. He uses mostly sign language, actually. It's pretty cool. And then he's the size of a 9-month-old right now at 2 years old, so there's also that. But he can walk and everything. He runs around and plays. That's fun. He has had many impacts on my life. Mentally, we've all had to adjust, keeping him in mind whenever we make plans to go anywhere, because as you can see, it takes a lot of work. Whenever we went up to Duluth this summer, and we had to take over, I think, like 25 oxygen tanks for 3 days. And then that was just a 2-hour trip, and we had to have like 4 oxygen tanks on us for that one. And then even just like going for a walk, we do have to carry oxygen and tubing and everything. So that was probably the biggest adjustment, was for those smaller things for us. My family had to get 2 new vans to adapt to his medical equipment. And then our house, we had to rearrange a lot to adapt to that as well. So we have a room that we store oxygen in, and we have like a separate fridge in our kitchen for his medicines and stuff like that as well. So specifically me, he did impact my mental health a lot, mostly last summer when his health started getting worse. It wasn't him specifically, but rather I wasn't really used to the lack of attention from my family as much anymore, so I just hid away in my basement for a while, and that affected my self-esteem a lot as well, because my parents were obviously distracted with him, which was understandable now, but it wasn't really at the time. I have 3 jobs now. I try to support myself more than letting my family do it, but that's just a personal preference. I'm sure they could if they wanted to, but it impacted me a lot as well, because I was forced to act as more of an adult figure in our house by at the age of 15, taking care of my 4 other siblings in the household besides him, and that was probably one of the biggest adaptations I had to deal with. My family has had many successes overall with him. We have a system for going places. Everyone has their little part of the pieces to put together, and we all trade jobs when we're going out as far as who's dealing with what part of his cares. And then I actually had the opportunity to become a personal care assistant for him and become certified in more of his medical deals, so I get paid for that as well. That was one of my multiple jobs I have, so that was a blessing, and I hope it helps me in the future in getting a job later. So we have had many resources. There's this organization called Hope Kids that is a religious company, and their goal was to provide families with these high medical needs children more events that aren't so medical related. So for example, we get like Timberwolves tickets and Wild Game tickets for him, and it's really fun. We were able to go to a concert this summer, and it's been really nice. As well as it gave us other families that are going through similar things that we can relate to. And I know that's helped my parents a lot more than it's helped me, but it's nice seeing them have those support system. We have a few doctors that have been a lot more helpful than others as far as sticking up for him when other doctors don't really want to. And then we also have many friends from our church and around town that'll come and bring us meals and stuff when Deacon's in the hospital and different things like that, and that's super helpful. We didn't really realize it until later. So as far as my actual paper went, I more expanded on the effects of all medical needs children, as far as those with autism, cerebral palsy, or other genetic duplications like Deacon has, or those with immune disorders as well. I looked at more of the problems they cause as not really problems, but the more effects that they have on not only the immediate family, but on the community as well, as far as like when they're out in public and everything, because you don't really think about it, but they do impact everyone around them. So my thesis statement was children with disabilities or high medical needs have a significant impact on their family because they impact their parents, their siblings, and the overall atmosphere of the family. My hopes when it comes to not only Deacon but children like him are that we as a whole can gain empathy for others in these situations. Even if you don't have to deal with it, it's still their life. And I hope this is brought into their schools, into the workplaces as they get older, into the public when it comes to accessibility to events and stuff like that, because it is difficult with all of his oxygen and stuff to get him in anywhere, and a lot of people aren't very understanding of that. I also hope for more resources to become available, so families that deal with this are allowed to not only just survive, but for them to get ahead, because right now, like, there is aid and stuff, but it really just helps them barely scrape by, and that I don't think is really fair. Also, I look forward to seeing more support from extended family members and from other community members as well. Some things that I have learned many life skills, including empathy and knowing how to be resilient when situations come my way that I don't really expect. I have learned how to be flexible, because with him, plans change a lot more than you expect, and that's been difficult, but I believe that these skills will definitely help me in the future when it comes to having my own kids someday, or going through college, or getting a higher level job as well. So my brother Deacon is just one kid, and there are many like him. His story has impacted me and my family in many different ways, but that's just one child, like I said. I have learned skills that I will be able to apply in many different areas of my life, and I hope to be able to teach other people these skills as well. It was my privilege today to be able to share his story and our story with you guys.
Thanks.